All right. All right, family. We are now live. Thank you for your patience. It's gonna be a good one tonight. It's gonna be a great one. It's gonna be a great one tonight. Get comfortable, family. Hit that like button. That's very important so people could discover the channel tonight during the show. Everybody keeps saying my cover, it looks like Michael Jackson Thriller video. The black people on the cover, y'all ain't shit, man. Y'all ain't shit, man. Let me let me get to a quick commercial. I'll be right back, family.
Numerovation with King Simon. Text me now at 347-496-1022. You can also take my course if you want to, but do text me for your sessions at 347-496-1022. You can also get my books on Amazon at Linktree/King Simon the Numerovator. Remember, you can book your session and get it done right now. 347-496-1022. That's 347-496-1022. King Simon the Numerovator.
All right. Also, before I bring on my guests tonight, I want to give a shout out to where's this at? I just uploaded the Patreon family with the brother Rod Hayes. For those who are interested in, we talked about this the other day. Rod Hayes has some things to say about the battle that's taking place overseas, the battle that's taking place in hip hop, the symbolism, how it's all connected. The cosmic holy drama that's being played out. Y'all could go on over to Patreon. Go to Patreon. It's the same, spelled the same as my channel name, Black Magic 363. I'll share a link maybe during the show or something like that. But yeah, make sure y'all check that out. With that being said, I want to welcome to the platform. The brother came on the first time and rocked it. Put down a legendary show. My brother Sharif Bey. Welcome back, my brother.
Yes, sir, brother. Thank you for having me back, brother, man. Again, as we said off camera, I'm blessed. I feel blessed to be useful. You know what I mean? And I'm very, very, very thankful that the stars, saw fit for you to see me on another show and bring me on, brother. I'm very thankful.
Indeed.
Yes,
you gave me a hell of a compliment. Brother said I'm a kingmaker. That's
a fact.
That's a top level compliment, man. I appreciate that, man.
That's a fact.
Top level compliment. And yeah, that's a hell of a compliment. And I just brothers like yourself. This show is very important to me. I'm not just doing it to do it. Shows like this is important to me. I feel as though our history is far more vast than what we are told. And there's a whole field out there of this whole thing we call UFOs, the extraterrestrials. And once again, like many other fields, is dominated by people who don't look like us. But I know, we know we have an ancient history. We've been around for a long, long time. So shout out to all the brothers out there. Before we're about to start, I just want to give a shout out to all the brothers who have put forth information to even make us relevant in this field and wake us up to let us know who we are. I want to start out with this brother. The brother, I got some books from the brother, Wesley Muhammad, the Anunnaki and Chariots of the Black God. Shout out to that brother. I want to give a shout out to Delbert Blair. Rest in power to Delbert Blair. There's a brother named Roderick on Forbidden Knowledge who does his thing. Shout out to Billy Carson for doing what he does. And everybody else who's out there holding it down, Seven Bomar, everybody who's out there, Blue Pill, everybody who's out there putting forth the information when it comes to us and our connection to the cosmos. So Sharif is one of those brothers who puts in the work. He's not just a YouTube researcher. He's been part of certain societies. He's well read with the library. I mean, the brother does extensive research, just like the brother Wesley. So I know it's going to be a great show. I'm ready to take notes and I'm ready to learn tonight, brother Sharif.
Go, brother. I want to give a shout to my brother, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? Very, very inspiring work. A big thing about scholarship is methodology. I learned a lot in the way of scholarship methodology from the brother. And again, this is his profession. You know what I'm saying? Or it's a part of his profession. So I learned a lot. We got the opportunity back in 2013, 10 years ago, to share the stage together. So we shared the stage, and it wasn't a debate. It was complimentary scholarship. We did a piece. It was called, entitled "The Sun Rises in the West," and what it was a celebration of Islam in America by and for our people. And that's the Nation of Islam and the Moorish Science Temple of America. But what's the key thing? The key, the crux of it is that our expression of Islam is an Islam that does not exclude our people as it relates to godhood. You see what I'm saying? As it relates to godhood. And that right there distinguishes our Islam, our expression of Islam, from the so-called orthodoxy or the so-called mainstream, right? And so that was an honor to share the stage with the brother. And hopefully, you know, inshallah, we could do that, you know, again in the near future. His work, and then before I even get in, I have to do this. Before we get into the presentation, this topic can't be discussed without discussing or throwing light on the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. It can't be. And there's a number of reasons why. And I'll share this with you all to start with. Back in the 30s, I have to say that, okay, the Western world kind of was catapulted into the UFO phenomena, the UAP phenomena with Roswell. But to be more specific, it was when the Manhattan Project successfully detonated the first nuclear warhead. Okay. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, because that did some things. Now, we know when that happened, that took place in the 40s, right? And then there was, shortly after, there was Roswell, right? The Roswell crash in Arizona. In the 30s, Elijah Muhammad, a man with a fourth grade education, was teaching about an oval-shaped plane, half mile by half mile in diameter, with 1,200 smaller planes on it, and gave very meticulous and detailed information about this. But the most powerful and the most scary detail that he gave was that it wasn't made by green men from Mars. That it was built on an island off the coast of Japan and finished in 1929 and took flight that same year. That, for the average individual, for the mainstream people, the masses, sounds like the most incredulous part of the whole story. But to military and intelligence and the powers that be, that was the most spooky and that was the most scary part of the teaching. When the FBI raided them in the 30s, they didn't take pictures of the chalkboard. They took the whole chalkboard.
Damn.
Word is bond. You see what I'm saying?
The whole thing.
And because that teaching in particular, that specifically the fact that he said that this thing was built by original people, that is the crux of our presentation today.
Let's get it going. Let's get it going. I'm excited. Let me once again, family, make sure you hit that like button. Please tell your friends and family that we live tonight. If you got Twitter, tweet about it. If you got Instagram, tell your friends about it. If you're on YouTube, share the link. This is something that we don't hear or see every day when it comes to this community right here. So yeah, whenever I have people, melanated folks, talking on topics like this, they always talk about how they're shunned for this level of information. When LeBron was on here, Dr. Wesley on here, Dr. Blair was talking about certain things. So let's give respect for these individuals for being brave. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad for coming forth with this information when a lot of people probably thought he was crazy, man. Give respect to all these individuals, man.
Before you even pull up the first slide, I want to say this as well. I also need to say this, right? Yeah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali spoke to this as well. Just know it not in any as in greater detail. He had said, I have airplanes, zeppelins, and apparatus. I'm going to take my good Moors up on the apparatus on an incline, right, when the destruction comes. Now, that's significant when we contextualize it. Here we go. And these are things, I told you before, I'm all about practicality. I don't want to just give people stuff that's going to tickle their ears. I want to give you things where you can look and see it for yourself, right? You can, where it's yours now, right? Look up you can Google this. Look up what's called the Great Airship Scare. Okay? The Great Airship Scare. What that was, we're talking in the late 1800s.
Damn.
In the late 1800s, there were many sightings, and not just sightings, but interactions. There were sightings of things that like zeppelins or airships that would seemingly appear out of nowhere and then disappear. And then the people that were on them sometimes interacted with the people that encountered them. This was in 1897, brother, right? The Great Airship Scare. This happened in the late 1800s, all right? So for the Prophet Noble Drew Ali to say in 1928, I've got airplanes, zeppelins, and apparatus, it meant something entirely different.
Whew.
See what I'm saying? It meant something entirely different, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that I had to say that as well. So go ahead, brother, man. I'm ready to go.
Okay. Let me hold up now. Present, share screen, window. All right.
Yes, sir. The biggest secret about UFOs. The subtitle: The Ultraterrestrial Original Man Connection. This is extremely important, people. Notice I use the term ultra-terrestrial as opposed to extraterrestrial. There's a reason for that.
Why is that?
Here's the reason. Simply put, I mean, we can go into it further, but here it is. Those in the know, okay, realize that the visitations are not, well, they're not exclusively what we would call extraterrestrial. In other words, they're not exclusively people coming from other planets per se. What they are people traversing different dimensions.
Oh.
So when we talk about elevation or we're talking about flight, we're not really talking so much about altitude. We're talking about amplitude. We're talking about vibratory rates. The interplay of vibratory rates and how that interacts with time, place, location, etc. So it's less of a matter in many cases of people going from one planet to another. It's going from one plane of existence to another.
Big difference.
So that's the term that's used by many of the people that are in the know. And I have to say in the know because a mystery is not a mystery to everybody.
Right.
See? Not a mystery to everybody. Okay, next slide.
Okay.
Get to know this man right here. This man is a friend of mine. There's another thing too, people, as it comes to not just my own personal research, but also my own personal curiosity. I am of the firm belief that there's not an individual on the planet that is not accessible. You hear me? Mm-hmm. Everybody can be touched. Everybody can be contacted. That's just my view. That's my perspective. So a number of years ago in researching some of these things, I was reading and studying the work of Lawrence Gardner. Lawrence Gardner is he passed away. He's the historiographer royale for the Dragon Court of the Knights Templar Order. Not Knights Templar Freemasonry, the Knights Templar Order. The order that has the genealogical records of certain ancient people, such as Jesus, such as other people, right? They keep the genealogy. They keep the actual records. All right, well, Lawrence Gardner was writing about ancient technologies. And he mentioned a guy named Harold Puthoff. Mm-hmm. And how Harold Puthoff in the 90s wrote a paper talking about warp drive, like in Star Trek or Star Wars, right? And how warp drive was now not only possible, but in some cases routine. And he talked about the need or the necessity of what he called exotic matter to make it possible. What is exotic matter? Simply put, exotic matter is a substance that exists on multiple dimensions. Okay, why is that important? Because it's through exotic matter that bridges the boundary between 3 dimensions and higher dimensions that enables you to fold space. All right. So the vehicles we see in the air that we call UFOs, they're not flying through the air. Let me say it again. They're not flying through the air. They're not moving. They're not moving. You know what's moving?
What's moving?
Space in front of them and behind them is moving.
Yeah.
They fold space, brother. That is why they're able to go from 0 to 90,000 miles an hour and not kill people inside them. They're moving space in front of them and behind them. The vehicle itself isn't moving.
See, this is why I got you on here tonight, brother. Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. Family, get your notepad ready. Okay, that's how we start. Okay, let's go, brother.
That's real. That's real. So get to know this individual, Harold Puthoff. He's an engineer and parapsychologist, trained remote viewer, founded the Institute of Advanced Studies. He, back in the 70s, partnered with Russell Targ. Look up both of those names. They're called the hippies that saved quantum physics. Harold Puthoff and Russell Targ at the Stanford Research Institute, right? They put together a program, and as a matter of fact, this is where remote viewing comes from, is these two guys. Their project was funded by the CIA. The project itself is called the Stargate Project. It's now declassified, and you can Google it and pull it down and study it for yourself. All right. He co-authored papers on zero-point energy and warp drive using exotic matter. And he authored the paper. I'm saying it for a reason, people. Get the paper. You can Google it. It's called Ultraterrestrial Models. Next slide.
All right, give me a second. All right.
Right. This is a copy of the Freedom of Information Act regarding Harold Puthoff from the CIA. Okay, that's what that is. I just want to show you. All right, go to the next slide real quick. Next slide. All right. You're looking at the title page to the paper that I mentioned, and you can see the URL at the bottom where you can Google it and and read the paper yourself. What you're looking at the far left was a year ago, a conversation between myself and Harold Puthoff. I said, "Good afternoon. May I ask what exactly prompted you to write the paper Ultraterrestrial Models?" His answer, he said, "Recognition that UAP, which means unidentified aerial phenomenon." So in other words, it's now the in vogue word for UFOs. He said, "Recognition that UAP discussion was too limited." I knew what he meant, so I just took him there. I said, "Oh yes, way too limited. It seemed to primarily focus on tech." In other words, the focus is on the technology, not the intelligence behind the technology. His response, he said, "Exactly." And then I said, "Well, from our standpoint, the perspective of your paper is brilliant and ties together things that not only we hold traditionally factual, but carry an obvious common logic." His response, he said, "Agreed. Thank you." Next slide. This is the abstract from the paper. It says this: "Under consideration in this paper are 2 seminal statements and their concomitants, currently unknown, as follows. Number 1, there is an unidentified phenomenon with the current human population on Earth. Number 2, it is currently unknown whether the phenomenon is exclusively extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional, which is ultra-terrestrial, crypto-terrestrial, we're going to get to that, demonic or jinn, proto or ancient human, time travelers, or etc., or some combination or mutation of any or all of these. That is a powerful statement. This guy is a part of compartmentalized, top secret, special access projects, people. But notice what he said. He said it is unknown at the time whether the phenomenon is exclusively extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional, crypto-terrestrial, demonic, proto-ancient human, time travelers, etc. He said, but that's not what we're being told in the mainstream, is it? What are we being inundated with in the mainstream? Two things. One is green men from Mars, and two, they are hostile. That's what we're being inundated with.
Right, right.
See that? We're not being told this. He sounds very close to what Elijah Muhammad was saying, doesn't he? Next slide. We're going to get right into it, people. All right. Notice I use the word ancient writings that go back 7,000 years, 10,000 years, okay? The Vedas and the Puranas out of ancient India. And again, I'm just because of time, I'm dealing with just one example. In this case, I'm talking about India. Why? Because it's more easily accessible. But other cultures have similar records. But in ancient India, the Puranas literally the word means ancient or old. It's a vast genre of ancient Hindu literature on a wide range of topics, but it gives detailed descriptions of Vimana and Valiksi. The Vedas do the same thing. The Vedas come in 4 volumes: the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda, and the Athara Veda. Each of this has 4 subdivisions, but they both give technical descriptions of Vimana and Valiksi. What is Vimana and Valiksi? Next slide. Vimana and Valiksi are 2 types of ancient transportation vehicles described in Hindu and Sanskrit texts. They have 3 main functions. They fly in the air, they move underwater, and they move in space, in outer space. Vimana are circular in shape, as in the picture on the book you see from Baccarini's book, and Valiksi are cigar-shaped. They are capable of interplanetary travel. They have various capabilities, including cloaking and advanced weaponry of mass destruction. Now, of course, we grew up under the European psychology, so there's a part of our brain right now that's telling us as we speak, that's a bunch of nonsense. That can't be true. Though that's just mythology that's being misinterpreted as technical. Next slide.
Okay.
This is a paper, people, and on the bottom left, there's on the slide, there's the URL where you can Google it, the paper, and read it yourself. This is white paper, people, as in this is a scientific paper. It's entitled Mercury Propulsion System in Vedic Vimanas and Modern Spacecraft. Right. I'm going to read the entire abstract. I have it on the left. Ancient India culture, 7,000 years ago, knew how to create Vimanas to traverse the sky and beyond using a technology that NASA is still trying to harness today. There are many books and websites which forcefully and passionately assert that technologically advanced aircraft and spacecraft were in common use over the Indian subcontinent thousands of years ago. The sources also claim that advanced space propulsion technology being researched by NASA is in fact directly inspired by ancient flying machines. The references mentioned from Vedic texts such as the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and others, right, cite Vimanas that fly in air, water, and land. They mention various propulsion, including Mercury propulsion. Vaimanika Shastra provides complete manuals for design, material selection, manufacture, operations, spacesuits, food, tackling enemies, becoming invisible, etc. Mr. S.B. Talpad is a Sanskrit scholar, has designed and constructed an aircraft based on Vedic principles and demonstrated the first unmanned flight. Wow. Next slide. This is an article in the Times of India. Researchers find proof of an ancient atomic war a great many years prior. There's many of these articles, and there's other papers written on this stuff and research, extensive. Again, so I'm pointing it out. You can look, every single one of you can go look in these directions, and your search will produce immediate results. Numerous accounts of mass destruction directly reminiscent of nuclear warfare in ancient times. One of the more common ancient sites in India is a site called Mohenjo-daro. Okay, that Hindu records say was destroyed in 2500 BC. And it gives an account of the destruction. It talks about there were explosions more brilliant than 1,000 suns, and how there were bodies burnt beyond recognition, and how people who survived, their hair was falling out, and they had boils, and they had their fingernails falling out. In other words, they had radiation sickness. And in these areas, in and around Mohenjo-daro, they found what I forgot the term they call it, but it's a type of glass. And it's only formed when the dirt and the sand are under such intense heat and pressure that it forms glass. Guess where else this glass is also found? It's found at the Trinity site when they tested the first atomic bomb. Okay. Next slide. This is Mr. J. Robert Oppenheimer. He was one of the lead scientists on the top secret Manhattan Project that produced the first nuclear weapons in this era of time. This is what he said when it first exploded. I remember the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. I suppose we all thought that one way or another. Interesting quote, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Very interesting.
Yes. Yes. Next slide. It's not just, and again, I want to say this, and I had said this to you, Brother Rich, before, right, off camera. Everybody's the focus is on UFOs. The focus is on anti-gravity technology. It's a good focus. But trust me, there's way more than just that. Way more than just anti-grav technology, which we're going to get back to as well. We're going to talk about that. There's something called portal technology. Okay? Related to the notion of wormholes in quantum physics are magnetic portals in astrophysics, as both types of phenomena allow for distant points in space to be closely connected in ways that seem to defy conventional logic. NASA recently reported that University of Iowa plasma physicist Jack Scudder discovered that there are regions in the Earth's magnetic field that directly connect it to the magnetic field of the sun, not across 93 million miles of space. These mysterious regions, known as magnetic portals, are thought to be opening and closing dozens of times every day.
Damn.
Yeah. There's the article to the right, people, on the slide. NASA discovers hidden portals in Earth's upper atmosphere. Whoa. Whoa. Now, before we go to the next slide is going to introduce you to some people, other people that I know that are also insiders. Okay. And that I have discussions with, ongoing discussions with. They are and were part of secret compartmentalized special access projects dealing with portals, actually doing actual expeditions. And what they told me and others is that there are two types of portal tech that exists on the planet today. There are the man-made portals that they have not quite perfected. Mm-hmm. And then they have natural portals, naturally occurring portals. And one of the things that they told me is this: in every single instance where there's a natural portal on the Earth's surface, the ancient Aboriginal people built some type of monument, temple, structure, or otherwise, which means they knew and were using them. Now, here's where it gets even crazier. These portals lead to other places on the planet and to other planets as well. Next slide. Who knows what they're looking at? Brother Rich, you know what you're looking at right here?
No, I don't.
Oh, remember what I told you the last time I was on, and I failed to show?
The Rakat, what's it called? The Rakat?
That's it called. That is the reshot structure right there. That is the eye of the Sahara. That is, it's hardly ever talked about, people, but it is the absolute most likely location for the sunken city of Atlantis. And all you got to do is Google reshot structure Atlantis. That's RICHAT. And you'll see the research. Now, the picture on the right of the slide, the black and white picture on the right of the slide, let me tell you what that is. Do you see the grid? Yeah. That is the flight pattern of a special secret CIA mission in 1967, where they went around the world. They went around the world studying geomagnetic anomalies. Now, remember what we just read in the previous slide about portals?
Yeah.
A portal is essentially what? A geomagnetic anomaly. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the slide, you see the crisscross pattern for the plane. They had special equipment on the plane to detect geomagnetic anomalies and their interactions with cosmic rays. What are they flying over? What do you see under it? The reshot structure. This was in 1967. They declassified this study in 2005. But guess what? The study is highly redacted, so you still don't know you still can't find out the details of what they found.
Right, right.
But just the fact that the CIA was there, and it was a classified mission, but they do tell you that it was a mission to detect geomagnetic anomalies. What were they looking for? We all know. See, a portal is also a spaceport, people, as opposed to an airport. It's a spaceport. Next slide.
Yo, real quick, Sharif, is it true? Remember when they ran up in Iraq after 9/11?
Yes.
A lot of people say they was looking for a portal. How true is that from the information you've come across?
Oh, no. There are definitely insider reports of not just looking for certain things in a particular cave in Iraq, but they actually found an example of an existing Vimana craft in a cave that was operational. Yes. Wow. Yep. Absolutely. Next slide. This gentleman, his name is Emery Smith. He's a very well-known whistleblower and insider. He was a med tech that was in the Air Force in the early 90s. and got pulled into special access projects where he was gradually was allowed, you know, he was working with tissue samples. And he says that it first started with little small tissue samples, and then it went from small tissue samples to larger tissue samples, from larger tissue samples to actual limbs, from actual limbs to actual bodies. And when we're talking about bodies, we're talking about what people would call quote unquote aliens of various types. Now, he does admit this. He did not know, listen close, people, if these quote unquote aliens were actually aliens or genetic hybrid experiments. Okay, that's very important. Very important. Right? He did not know. He said it could be either. It could be both or a combination of the two. That's important. That's very, very important right there. A very important point. But again, he's a well-known insider and someone that I'm in contact with. Next slide. And again, I'm showing you these people and speaking to them because, like I said, nobody is inaccessible. If I can reach out and touch these people and speak to them and get information, so can you. This individual is an actual friend of mine. He's a Native American out of Oklahoma. His name is Randy Wittenheimer. Randy Wittenheimer was a one-time mentor to the previous gentleman I showed you, Emery Smith, and has been on portal expeditions with Emery and other teams. He's been there personally, right? He's a scientist, physicist, martial artist. He and I both do the same martial arts style. He's worked on various special access programs, including portal technology, time manipulation. I'm going to speak to real quick about one of his, I interviewed him a year ago, and he spoke about one of his experiments regarding time manipulation, right? He's also worked on super soldier programs. You guys know the movie, what was the movie series? The Born, you know, the Born Identity and all of that.
Yeah.
Those are super soldier, those are actual super soldier programs. That's what that is. Those are super soldier programs. They do exist, right? So, but listen to this. He is talking to us about, in his tradition, in his Native American tradition, they see time, listen close, as composed of a certain amount of, let's say, sections. Let's give it a number. Let's say 14. Time, anything between any space between point A and point B in their tradition has 14 sections. What he did is he developed an algorithm that would remove or disregard 2 of the 14 sections. Then he created a device that would play the algorithm. Then he installed it in his car. And then he tested it out. He tested it out by driving from one place to another where he knew the distance. Let's say the distance was 2 hours. With the device turned on in his vehicle, it took less than an hour to get to his location.
Wow.
He thought that it was maybe playing mind tricks or whatever. So one time he did it with his daughter in the passenger seat. Then another time he told another scientist on how to do it. So these things, see, man, I mean, like you said in the beginning of the show, Brother Rich, the world is way bigger than we realize.
Yeah.
Way bigger. Next slide. All right. So everybody's heard, I'm sure people have heard of the whole hollow earth theory, right?
Yeah.
So notice I said sort of. There's a reason why I say sort of. You know, there's private treasure hunters. I'm talking about people that got they're multimillionaires, millions of dollars, millions of dollars, millions of dollars, right? And they're treasure hunters. We've seen some of these on different shows where people are out, oh, you know, we're gonna go find this particular treasure, that particular treasure, right? So a number of these individuals had enough money to develop a type of LiDAR technology. LiDAR is ground penetrating radar. Mm-hmm. They developed a type, a LiDAR tech that's so powerful that the United States government and other private corporations contract with them to see things that they don't want other people knowing or seeing. Mm-hmm. So this ground penetrating radar is so good. Not only can it penetrate miles and miles and miles into the surface of the earth, right, or below the surface of the earth, but it can also, it has spectrograph, capabilities where it can determine the types of substances, different types of substances, like gold, of course, because these guys are treasure hunters. See, like gold and other things. So guess what these guys found, among other things? They found pockets deep inside the earth in various locations where where there's like ancient relics, and I mean ancient relics, which says a big thing, which is a big deal. That's a big point. Ancient relics. What is the implication of them finding ancient relics in enclosed, compartmented pockets thousands of miles under the Earth's surface? What's the direct implication that they're ancient relics there? What's the implication?
What?
That ancient people knew how to access it.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Ancient technology, people. Mm-hmm. Okay. Meaning materialization and dematerialization technology. All right. Guess what else they found?
What?
Civilizations. Dwelling of many types of, I use the term pre-Adamite man. The reason why I say pre-Adamite man is because we all live under a particular narrative. In the last show, I talked about how narrative is the secret. It's not what to think, it's how you've been trained to think about whatever. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we say pre-Adamite man, right, we're talking about man or humanity before this particular cycle that we're living in now.
Right.
Okay. These underground dwellers referred to surface dwellers as Terrans. Mm-hmm. Right. And many of these, private corporations, military, of course, also have their own secret projects, and they also have underground facilities. They also have their own underground facilities as well. Next slide. We talked in the last show about radionics and psychotronics. There was a particular book I said for everybody to get. It's a book by the author's name is Duncan Laurie. The book is called The Secret Art. If you don't get any other book that I mentioned, get that one. It's going to crash course you into this technology. All right. Consciousness is scalar in nature. Hold on. Radionics, to oversimplify it, is consciousness assisted technology, meaning like instead of a transistor or resistor or whatever in the machine, which it may have or may not have, your human consciousness is a component in the machine. Okay? Very important. Now, here we go. You cannot scientifically analyze, observe, or measure a thing, except that the tools you're using to measure it are made of the same substance that of what it is you're observing or measuring. You understand? In other words, this is one of the limitations of Newtonian physics and the people that think limited to Newtonian physics. If the only tools I have are physical, I can only analyze and study physical things. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Consciousness is not physical, but it's more real than your flesh. It's more real than your flesh. You see? Remember the exercise that we did last show?
Yeah.
We proved it. See? You prove it to yourself. There's a part of you that's non-physical, but it's more real than your flesh. So the term consciousness, or the phrase consciousness, is scalar in nature. Scalar meaning beyond light speed. Now, according to, and this is where Einstein's theories breaks down. Remember, before Einstein even passed away, he had students that started poking holes in his theory of relativity.
Mm.
In other words, because the way it was traditionally understood is that something that has mass, in other words, something physical, something that has mass, the closer it gets to the speed of light, the more mass it takes on, to the point where before it reaches the speed of light, the amount of energy, the amount of mass it has is infinite. And therefore, based on that, nothing that has mass can travel the speed of light or faster. Well, we know that exists particles, in other words, things that have mass that travel faster than the speed of light, like tachyon particles, for instance. See? So when we mention scalar waves, or we speak about scalar waves, that's faster than light, right?
Right.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his lessons in the Nation of Islam, they teach that thought travels at 24 billion miles per second. That's faster than light.
Mm-hmm.
So what is we saying in general? Consciousness is scalar in nature, which means the main way we have to analyze faster than light phenomena is what? Human consciousness. See? Human consciousness is how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is important. Human consciousness can influence the physical world by collapsing quantum wave function or modulating scalar wave interactions. We talked about this last show. Do you know the number? We call it an operator. That's what it's called in quantum mechanics, an operator. Something that can collapse a wave function. A wave function is a probability.
Right.
So the quantum operator can collapse a wave function from probability to an actual physical event. Okay, guess what does that, people? Human consciousness. That solves the problem, which has already been solved in Western science, about whether light is a wave or a particle. Light functions as a wave until there is human attention. When there's human attention, it appears as a particle. See that? Do you know the number one aspect of human consciousness that causes a collapse of wave function? Belief.
Yeah, we talked about
that. That comes from a quantum physicist that said that. John Rayhart said that.
Oh, yeah?
Belief. Like I said before, I know people still look down on belief. I get it. But belief, like I said before, is not a thought that the mind possesses. Belief is a thought that possesses the mind. See? It must possess the mind in order to have the requisite energy to collapse the wave function. See? And there are physical devices that can enhance human consciousness to this end. That is radionics, people. It shouldn't surprise you that radionics was outlawed and declared illegal in the United States. Now, to what I said earlier, Ibn Rushd. Ibn Rushd is known in the European world or known in the Western world as Averroes. Look him up. Look up Averroes. He was born in 1126 and died in 1198. Right? Averroes is celebrated by the European Western world because it was him and others that introduced ancient Greek technology and ancient Greek culture to Europeans. Whoa, what are you talking about, Brother Sharif? I thought Europeans were white. I'm sorry, I thought Greeks were white. Ancient Greeks were white. Nope. Nope. Europeans appropriated Greek culture because they were introduced to it in Spain by the Moors. Ibn Rushd was born in Cordova, Spain. Now, that being said, he considered the psyche to be part of the study of physics. This is very important, people. Very important. Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught that the European put our people to sleep. Well, how do you do that? Let's look at psychology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Descartes is considered the founder of Western psychology. Psychology initially was what? The search for evidence of the existence of the human soul. What did the Western world do as it relates to psychology and also to the scientific method? It removed human observation from the process. It removed human consciousness from the process. That's not what our forefathers did, as evidenced by what I just said about Ibn Rushd. He considered the psyche to be part of the study of physics. In other words, human consciousness is an integral part of the study of physics. Why? Obviously, because human consciousness can alter matter. That's why. See? Ancient old world religious and spiritual disciplines are ancient technology, and communication with higher intelligences are the various pre-Adamite humanity, aka original man, that the mainstream colors as what? Aliens. Next slide. Alan Greenfield is a very close friend of mine. Alan Greenfield is an occultist. He's a secret order man of high rank. He's a ufologist and a published author. In his book, Secret Cipher of the UFOnauts, one of his colleagues by the name of Terry Wrist followed some of his advice. There was a particular UFO incident. Well, it was a combined incident of UFO and people seeing what they call a cryptid. Cryptids are animals or other living things that basically shouldn't exist, like Sasquatch, Bigfoot, is called a cryptid. The Loch Ness Monster is called a cryptid. Well, if you Google Mothman, the Mothman sightings, there were sightings of a cryptid called the Mothman in West Virginia in the 60s. There was a movie done on this. There was a movie called the Mothman Diaries, I believe it was called, right? But the Mothman incident also included an encounter with an alien. It included an encounter with an alien, right? Mm-hmm. And that alien's name he gave was Indrid Cold. Okay, so Alan Greenfield wrote a book outlining, and this has gotten him in a lot of trouble, by the way. This book, Secret Cipher of the UFOnauts, is what it's called. He outlined a secret code that allowed for average individuals and adepts in certain secret orders to communicate with, anticipate landings or appearances of UFOs and interact with the intelligences behind the UFOs. The book got him in a little bit of trouble. All right. So like I said, one of his colleagues used the code and literally found the address of Indrid Cold. And he said, this is what he said. Terry Riss said this. He said, yeah, the way Indrid Cold was described, he's described as a particular type of alien category that the status quo uses, they call a blonde. So, of course, you're thinking pale skin, blonde hair, right? But humanoid looking. Terry Riss said this. He said, oh, I found the address and knocked on the door. And yeah, a man opened the door with, who fit the description of one of the blondes with one exception. and Alan said, let me guess. He was black. And Terry Riss said he was a Moor. That's what he said. That's what he said. Again, you can find Alan Greenfield online, and you can ask him yourself.
Hey, you know what I want to ask you? I've asked several people who've come on this platform this. It might have been Bobby Hemming, I heard say this. Is there a connection between Moors and Mars?
You know who started that?
Who?
I'm gonna tell you who started that. I'm gonna tell you who started. But now there's that's interesting. Africa Bambaataa started that.
Oh wow.
Bam said that at the National Black Theater back I think it was around 2005. He had said something like that. Yeah. Wow. Now remember what I had shown earlier in the slides on about evidence in India at Mohenjo-daro about an ancient nuclear war, right? Well, guess what? They found a very interesting radioactive signature in this huge canyon. And the scientists are like, you know what? We cannot deny that this is weapons grade atomic signature. Weapons grade. It's on Mars. Yeah, it's on Mars. It's on Mars. There was a particular insider, I'm not sure of his name, but brother, can you see the link under Alan Greenfield's picture?
Yes.
Can you click the link and play the audio? It's a TikTok video.
Let me see. Am I able to? Why is it? Hold on.
Either that or copy the URL.
Yeah. Does it have music in it? Because if it got music,
no music, just audio. It's just audio.
Give me a second. Let me pull this up on. You know what? It does.
Don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it. There was a particular individual that purported to be an insider. I'll just speak to it.
Okay.
There was a particular individual that purported to be an insider that alleged that he was present at an Air Force base where a very huge UFO landed. And he said it was cigar shaped and it was like very big, huge, right? And when it landed, it caused a short earthquake. And it said the men, that's how he described it. He said the men that filed out of it, right, were tall, like 6'4" and taller. He said they had on tight outfits, tight like black, they looked almost leather. They had huge weapons. And he described them, he said they were black men. They looked like African Americans.
Now, who said this again?
This particular, I don't know his name. He was particular, and that's another reason why, you know, again, just being responsible with scholarship. I'm not going to tell, you know, also too, after I conferred, I spoke briefly with Dr. Wesley Muhammad. He's familiar with this with this accounting as well, but I can't speak to the veracity of it. I'm mentioning it, yes, but I can't speak to the veracity of it. But I am mentioning it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Next slide. This is my last slide. We flew through a lot of these, but you know, I wanted to here we go. This is my last slide, the conclusions. Like I said before, people, narrative is the secret. It's how we've been taught to think. In the Moor Science Temple of America, we have a saying, you know, we have a teaching. It says, we measure time by cycle ages, and the gate to every age you deem a milestone in the journey of the race. In the Moor Science Temple, in the Nation of Islam, they have a question. It says, who made Holy Quran a Bible? How long ago? And can you tell us, why does Islam renew our history every 25,000 years? Again, cycle ages, people. Our forefathers saw time as a circle. This is extremely important. Why? Because the present narrative has us thinking about time in a line. Therefore, there's a beginning and an end. This messes us up because we're always looking for a first when you cannot find the beginning of a circle. See? Okay. This is important, okay? Like, I'm sure you all are familiar with the show Ancient Aliens.
Yes. All
right. The show Ancient Aliens, and then there's shows like Forbidden Archaeology and things like that. What makes these shows, in my opinion, among other things, I mean, they're intriguing, and you could find some really good stuff in some of them. But these shows are the what happened was shows. What do I mean by that? You have a significant other. Let's say you cheated on them, but you know they're going to find out, right? What do you do if you're slick? You blow yourself up. You tell on yourself, but you tell it the way you want it to be told.
Right.
Okay. That's what these shows are like. You understand? Ancient Aliens, they'll say, oh, look, we found, you know, the whole ancient alien theory is inherently racist. Why? Because they'll say, oh, well, these ancient cultures didn't have the technology. They were ancient. So remember, we're trained to think linearly in terms of time. So we think that where we are today is the most advanced humanity has ever been, and that's not true. Come on, you look at the Great Pyramids of Egypt, they can't build them today. That fact alone, the fact that you can look at that pyramid and know that we can't build those today tells you what? Somebody could build them before, and they were much more advanced than us today. So what does the ancient alien theory say? Oh, it wasn't it wasn't original people. It wasn't indigenous people. It wasn't Asiatics. It was green men from Mars. See? And many of us fall for it. See that? The present narrative is predicated on linear or monochronic time, not polychronic, which is cyclical. Right. The ancient old world narrative measures time cyclically. You see what I'm saying? It measures time cyclically. Remember on the previous slide when I talked about the one account by the one individual?
Yes.
right? I need to say this, right? Myself and Dr. Wesley had a conversation, and his exact words were, "I don't believe that account." I responded and said, "You know what? I trust yours. I trust your view, and I trust your scholarship." See, it's very important to be responsible and not just titillating with information that's going to titillate the ears of people. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I needed to say that. All right. Let's continue. Ancient old world narrative measures time cyclically. The present civilization cycle, the time we're in now, the narrative we live under now, caught up to the ancients with the Manhattan Project. Let me say that again. It caught up to our forefathers, but not quite. It just entered a particular phase with the Manhattan Project. It's catch up. They're still trying to play catch up. All right. There have been many cycles of creation, destruction, and reset. Many. Atlantis was the end of one cycle. See? Look up in science. It's called the Younger Dryas period. Dryas. The Younger Dryas period. Look it up. The Younger Dryas period was a period of very quickly shifting environmental and geological changes on Earth, swiftly. Not separation of continents slowly over millions of years. That's the gradual theory. There's the cataclysmic theory. And the Younger Dryas period is evidence that there was a great shift in the environment, in the atmosphere, and the planet about 10,000 years ago. Okay? About 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
There are present, now here's another thing that we have to conclude. There are survivors from previous cycles. So think about it, people. If we've been this advanced or more advanced in a remote past, which we have, and then there was a destruction and a reset, right? But there were survivors from the previous cycles. How advanced would they be now? Okay. These survivors have surpassed what we would call level 3 society. Okay. What do we mean by that? There's level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 is the ability of, let's say, humanity in this case, right? To populate other planets or to go visit other planets, right? What does that say about the current narrative? We haven't yet reached level 1.
Damn. Yikes.
Right. Okay. So these survivors have far surpassed level 3 society, which means what? Which means many of them could be quote unquote visiting Earth. But from our perspective, we would call them aliens from another place. But from their perspective, they are coming home. These survivors have spanned the universe, but recognize the Earth as their home. This is one of the big secrets. These survivors are only alien in reference to what we would recognize as normal. How about that?
Damn.
All right. Which means now we're forced to expand our perception of what humanity actually is. They are advanced enough to remain hidden until they decide to reveal themselves. Certain religious orders and secret orders throughout time have developed and maintained contact with specific groups of these pre-Adamite people. In certain occult and magical orders, this is called the magical link.
Oh, you dropping some shit now, man.
Hold on. Now, in Islam, I gotta go there. In Islam, specifically in Shiaism, right? Specifically in Shiaism, there is the teaching. There is the teaching of the 12 imams, right? Some will say 12 higher, 12 lower, which would make 24, right? Then there's in Shiaism, there's a sect of Shiaism called the Ismailis, right? They have 12, so there's 12 are Shiaism, and then 7 are Shiaism. So some would say 12 imams, some would say 7 sages. Well, it's interesting because in the Nation of Islam, they talk about 24 scientists.
Right.
And in the Moorish Science Temple of America, we talk about 7 sages. Now, who are these groups of people? They are what we could call, for lack of a better word, post-humans. In other words, humans that have surpassed level 1 and level 2 or level 3. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
But they stay behind to aid and assist humanity, to guide humanity. See? This is a part of old world Islam, not the reformist Islam that we see coming out of Saudi Arabia. This is also part of old secret orders as well. Okay. This is deep.
Oh yeah. No.
All right. Like I said, certain religious orders and secret orders throughout time have developed and maintained contact with specific groups of these pre-Adamite people. Each type of living, now this is deep, each type of living thing unfolds and evolves into perfection of its kind. Let's flash back to our guy Emery Smith, who dissected and analyzed different quote-unquote aliens. He said there were humanoid, there were reptilian, there were insectoid, and then there were non-carbon based type. In other words, like silicone based, mineral based, right? The scientist John Rayhart talks about this. He talks about crystals. He says crystals, rocks, like crystals, do they have life? He says, of course they do, or else how can they form themselves into specific 6-sided shapes?
Right.
All right. See? So each type of living thing unfolds and evolves into perfection of its kind. Understand? So with that principle, it shouldn't surprise us that there may be advanced reptilian beings or advanced insectoid beings, like the ones under Dulce, New Mexico, where this one individual who was contracted by the military to dig, and because they were creating an underground base, and he happened to surprise a group of underground insectoids, right? It shouldn't surprise us that it was done in the same area where the Anasazi Indians said that they, in ancient time, received help from a group of people they called the ant people, or the ant friends, that led them underground during a crisis. All right. Disclosure. You've heard the term disclosure as it relates to UFOs and all this other stuff. Disclosure, in its truest sense, equates to Armageddon and Revelations from the religious perspective. We're not talking about the end of the world. We're talking about the end of a cycle, the end of an age. See? That's what we're talking about. The hereafter, which is technically a religious term, equates to what? Post-disclosure life. In other words, hidden technologies, hidden ancient technologies, revealed again to the public. So we talked about anti-gravity tech. We talked about the fact that the UFOs are not moving through space. They are moving space around them. And remember, 3D is 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. So if it can move space, what else is it manipulating, people? Say it. Remember, 3 dimensions of space, 1 dimension of time. So if it can manipulate space, what else is it also manipulating?
What thoughts?
Time, people. Time.
Damn.
Time. Who would have thought that UFOs or the technology allows you to manipulate time? In other words, they're time machines too. All right. See? So that's a technology. If we have consciousness assisted technology, what okay. What follow the bouncing ball? What else exists? Well, the insiders already confirmed that certain things exist. One day you'll wake up, Brother Rich, and say, we talked about this before. Man, I'm feeling every bit of 42. Oh, man. Let me go to my closet and pick out the 25-year-old Brother Rich's body and put it on. Body banks, people. Avatar technology exists. How did the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say it? I believe it was in Our Savior Has Arrived. He talked about the hereafter. He said, well, you won't age past the age 16. See?
You know,
go ahead,
Brother Sharif, real quick. You talked about you was talking about the manipulation of time.
Yes.
One of the things I said was thoughts, and just wanted to touch on that real quick.
Yes.
The reason why I say that, because some of the elders teach us that thoughts equals time, and in fact, depending on how you think, time changes.
Okay, now let me say that. Okay, I'm glad you put that. I'm glad you said that. This is my perspective, based on, but it's based on my study. But this is my perspective. Remember what we said before about human consciousness being the quantum mechanic operator?
Yes.
There you go.
Right there.
There you go.
Gotcha.
Human consciousness can warp time. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir. Human consciousness has the capability of doing it. We do it all the time unconsciously.
Yeah.
And all it takes is just some sensory modification. Don't believe me? Contact Circus Corporation in Las Vegas. Contact them and ask them this simple question. Why do you meticulously control the atmosphere and the temperature inside casinos? You know what they'll tell you?
What?
They'll tell you they are manipulating human biorhythms. In other words, early in the morning, you wake up, you're groggy. By 12 noon, your energy's up. You're good to go. When the sun goes down, your energy starts to fade. See? Because the inner body is a microcosm of the outer world. And it's therefore connected. Understand? Any of you that have been to casinos in Las Vegas and you were in the casino and you're doing your thing, playing the slots or whatever, right? How many of you have experienced this? You're doing your thing. Next thing you know, you look at the watch. Oh my God, it's 3 a.m. How did that happen? How you know?
Yeah, man.
Now you know. That's how it's done. So just by manipulating the temperature and keeping it at a specific constant, they trick your biorhythms into believing only 10 minutes passed when actually 4 hours passed. See?
Yeah, man.
This is crazy, right?
Oh, yeah. It's some...
Okay. The current leaders of this reality are well aware of everything we just spoke on. Well aware. Now, right? Secret military projects reproduced anti-gravity in the 50s, people. They were able to utilize 0-point energy in the 50s. What is the implication of that? I'm going to tell you what the implication is. And I mentioned it last show. You can buy the most advanced vehicle ever, the most advanced automobile ever. It is 100 years obsolete. We are 100 years behind in technology, at least 100 years.
Yeah.
That's the reality. That's the reality. Listen, when I can tell you about a machine that you can just be in the presence of, and that machine, right, plays a harmonic, a particular sound at a particular frequency, and that frequency runs interference with viruses in your body. Because remember, a virus is a crystalline structure, people. And it runs an interference pattern with that virus and shatters the virus and doesn't affect any of the surrounding tissue. Yeah, those machines, the Rife machine, R-I-F-E, they were around and available in the 50s, people.
Yeah.
They were around and available in the 50s. The intelligence behind the technology is more important than the technology. This is one of the main reasons why consciousnness expansion and any exercises that can cause consciousness expansion are ridiculed or sometimes outright outlawed. See? This is why. To keep you asleep. See that? We don't, follow me. Based on what I just said, we don't have to sit on our hands and wait for some so-called aliens to come and save us or some other people to come and save us. I'm not saying that that's not going to happen. I am saying that we don't necessarily have to wait on that. While we're waiting, we get busy on raising our consciousness to their level.
Right.
Because we are them. You hear me?
Let me ask you this, Brother Sharif.
Yes,
sir.
Were
you saying we are them, and very, very, very interesting conversation, discussion tonight. Just makes us, you're forcing us to expand our mind and expand our way of thinking and our perception, and I truly appreciate that. Amazing researcher you are, my brother. What I want to ask you is, when you talk about we are them and you talk about the pre-Adamite beings, when we think about the races of the planet and what we're currently undergoing on this planet, would you say that the so-called black man is the pre-Adamite race on this planet, and this is why we're so despised globally across the cultures?
That's exactly
why.
That's exactly why. Exactly, bro.
So at that time, there was only, you would say, melanated people roaming the planet. This pre-Adamite civilization.
Everybody says that. Including pale-skinned Europeans. They admit that. Yes. They admit that. They admit that we're original man. But see, now think about what I just said. Think about what I just said in the presentation. And then go back to what the Nation of Islam teaches in the student enrollment. Who is the original man? Notice I said original man. See, now when we're talking about original man, your idea and concept and perception should be expanded. When we say original man, right, we're not talking about 6,000 years ago. We're not talking about 40,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago. Take it back further. Take it back further, and take it back further, and take it back further. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. All right.
I know time is cyclical the way we're supposed to measure it. And I'm gonna ask you a time period. I don't know if you could give me a time period or not, but when you say original man, about how long we've been roaming this planet. If we are good at, are you talking millions, billions?
We come before the planet, brother. We come before the planet.
In this form, though, I know that, but maybe in this form, this vehicle, this avatar.
This vehicle, brother.
Before this planet, in this vehicle, this avatar.
Let me share with you the one insider whistleblower that I mentioned to you, Emery Smith. Let me share something that he said in an interview and to me personally, right? When someone asked him about the various aliens that he's been able to investigate and deal with, right? He said, has he seen things that are just super bizarre? He said, yeah. He said, but listen close. He said, but the vast majority of the quote unquote aliens are of the 5-star type. That's what he said. What do you mean by 5-star? Arm, leg, arm, head. That's what he said. See? And again, remember we asked this question last show. I'll ask it again, and it should carry more weight now. All these quote unquote aliens from all these different places, what in the world is so special about Earth that they would come here?
Yeah.
Now you know. Let me tell you what Alan Greenfield said in a lecture back in the late 90s. In the conclusion of his lecture, he talked about the quote unquote aliens. This is what he said. He said, the aliens here on Earth are here because whether they're benevolent or malevolent, either or both, right? He said they're here because there's something about a weak and frail humanity that they either adore, respect, or fear, or both. And they are here to witness the birth of the new man.
That's us.
I'm talking about our people, and specifically our people in America, because if they're here to witness humanity go up a level to the next level, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And there's no link weaker than dead people. And there's no people on the planet in the history of humanity that have ever been called the dead people, but the fallen Asiatic sons and daughters of North America. That's why in the Moorish Science Temple of America, we say black, according to science, means death. It's to point to the prophecies, people. It's us coming from the graves in Revelations. See?
You just spoke with that fire in you, brother. Like that it's fire came out of you, man.
Yeah.
That fire came out of you, man. Shit.
Yes, sir. But there's all kinds of things in the way to dissuade you from knowing that they're coming for you. And who's coming for you? Your brothers and sisters.
Simple as that.
Plain and simple.
Your family.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh man, brother Sharif, man, let's take a couple of questions. I mean, what a show, man. I mean, what a show, brother. What a show, man.
Yes,
do your thing, brother. Second time you on here, you do your thing, brother. Let's take a couple of questions from the family. Wow. Before we take a couple of questions, leave your contact info before a couple of people get out of here. You know, they might leave. I want them to contact you, get in touch with you, and
absolutely.
Whatever. What's your contact info, brother?
You can find me, Sharif Anail Bey. You can find me on Facebook, same Sharif Anail Bey. Find me on TikTok, Sifu Sharif, right? Instagram, Sharif Bey, SHARIFBEY. Find me there. LinkedIn, Sharif Anail Bey, definitely. I'm easy to find. Yes,
all right. Let's give me a couple of questions for the brother Sharif. Give me a couple of questions. Yeah, I seen a couple of people in the chat. You know what? This person is asking, is the Earth flat? You know, it's one of the things that's always been confusing to me about people who flat earthers. They get
Yes.
real aggressive if you don't believe the Earth is flat. And I'm
Yeah.
like, everybody should be allowed to think. Why are you so angry? If somebody doesn't like, they be angry, they be aggressive. So
Yeah.
shout out to all the flat earthers, but everybody don't vibe with that. Let them, I got people, I got just to give you an example, Sharif. I'm not judgmental with the information. I allow everybody to present the information on the channel. Billy Carson don't believe the flat is earth. Phil Valentine said the earth is flat. It's an infinite plane. So I listen to both brothers. I'm not mad at either brother for believing or coming to that conclusion. But some people just get so angry with the information sometimes, man. I'll be like, relax, family. So talk to me about with your information. Do you think is the earth flat?
Let's look at pyramid technology and what people know about pyramid technology. And trust me, this relates. Trust me, it relates, right? The pyramid. Let's talk about the Great Pyramid of Giza. The location of the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's located in the very geographic center of the planet.
Right.
All right. It is oriented in such a way that it's basically a geo 3D map of the Northern Hemisphere. There is absolutely no way that this, and this is well known, it's absolutely no way this could be done without the use and knowledge of the golden mean. Okay. Pi, right? Well, pi is used to measure what, people? All right. All right.
Oh, man.
Okay. It's pretty simple. It's used to measure, among other things, curvature.
Yeah. You answered that.
Simple.
Yeah, they put 3.14, family. They put that in there. Everybody's putting 3.14 in the chat. All right, we ain't gonna let's get to the next question. Let's get to the next question. Don't want to spend too much time on that. Let me see what's going on with the questions in the chat.
Also, too, devices, ancient technological devices like the astrolabe wouldn't work if the earth was flat.
Indeed.
It wouldn't work. Yeah.
Let me get your opinion on this comment here. To think a race is superior than others, that's what Hitler did. So don't listen to separation from all races.
I like that. Let's talk about it. First and foremost, right? The American Anthropological Association. The American Anthropological Association, right? Declared in 1997 in response to Federal Directive 15 from the Office of Management and Budget of the federal government. Federal Directive 15 is what determines racial classification in America for the purpose of statistics gathering, right? Okay. The American Anthropological Association and UNESCO for the United Nations declared color code race classification to be a myth that was invented by rich Europeans to subjugate non-Europeans. All right. They declared it to be a myth. To think race is superior, a race is superior than others, that's what Hitler did. So don't listen to separation from all races. First of all, the whole color code race thing is a myth anyway. That's number one. So that's not what we're doing. We're not preaching quote unquote black supremacy. What we are trying to do is just simply tell the truth. The mere fact that somebody has to say there's no such thing as a superior race means that somebody somewhere said there was a superior race and acted on it. How about that? See? So Paul Singh, thank you for that comment, but it's directed in the wrong direction.
Wrong direction, huh?
Wrong direction. That comment needs to be directed at the status quo. That comment needs to be directed at worldwide Euro neo-colonialism, which, by the way, is getting pushed out of everywhere.
Right.
Shout out to Niger, the country of Niger. Not only did they push the French out, Not only did they do that, right? The IMF tried to give them financial assistance, and they pushed that back too. They said, "Nah, we don't need it." Salute to them.
Indeed.
See, ain't nothing wrong. Watch this. There's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with the people saying, "Man, just leave us alone and let us do us."
It's facts.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
All right. That's not racist.
All
right.
Super facts. Somebody, wait, where is it? Raja wants to know, so what's the difference between portals and black holes?
In the general sense, absolutely nothing. In the general, well, there's, according to quantum physics, there's two types of black holes. There's a wormhole, and then there's what's called a non-rotating black hole, right? So get a book, one of my favorite books, called The Voodoo Quantum Leap. It's kind of out of print, but Theon Publishing just have a reprint of a special version of it. It's going to cost you a little money, but it's called The Voodoo Quantum Leap by our brother, Dr. Reginald Crossley. Dr. Reginald Crossley was a doctor and a scientist, but he was also a voodoo practitioner. And so for the first third of the book, he's talking about quantum mechanics. So it feels nice and safe. He's talking about Zendoric, he's talking about what could be possible according to quantum mechanics. And so you fall right in like, oh, okay, yeah. Then guess what he does? The rest of the book, he's talking about how ancient people created wormholes with certain types of paint and a cowhide in Burkina Faso, for instance.
Damn.
Word is bond. Ancient tech could create miniature wormholes and portals to different destinations. Get the book.
Wow.
The Voodoo Quantum Leap by Dr. Reginald Crossley.
I actually have that book and I never read it.
Bruh.
I haven't. Yeah.
Bruh.
Gotta read it. Wow.
Bruh.
All right, next question. They want to know, are the solar flares are increased portal activities? Question mark.
I wouldn't say they're increased portal activities. They could be. I would say that they definitely would influence portal activity. One of the things that some of the insiders told us is that the natural portals are complicated in the sense that they're only open at certain times when there's certain alignments and certain convergences. Okay. So you have to have knowledge of that to be able to accurately use them. And this was secret knowledge with certain Native American and other indigenous tribes. Even the doggone tribe of Mali. That's secret stuff. They keep to themselves. You see? Yeah.
Deep. We talk a lot about cosmic alignments.
Yes,
and
sir.
when cosmic alignments happen, I guess portals open or energy is more active or energy is amplified.
Yes.
And cosmic alignments is when the planets align with each other. What would be an example, and what would happen when I guess you would say with human alignment, when I guess the stars align down here, or I guess what's an example of alignment down here, human alignment?
But
maybe
it's all
consciousness.
the same, brother. It's all the same. One of the things, follow me, that people misinterpret about the statement, the very famous Hermetic statement that's attributed to Thoth or to Tahuti from the Emerald Tablets, as above, so below. Right? Misinterpreted, misquoted.
Misquoted. Okay. That's a big statement, man. Come on, I got to hear what comes after this. You said what
it's really saying is that the above, the outer is within, and the inside is without. It's not the same. It's not the same. You understand? This is why many ancient cultures in certain dances, right? Like, for instance, the ancient Taoists have a certain type of dance. Guess what it's called? It's called the 7-star step. What is the 7-star? Or in Cantonese, they say Chatsing, 7-star. You know what that is? The Big Dipper. The Big Dipper.
Ooh.
And they can channel the energies and communicate with intelligences there by doing this pattern on the ground here.
Yeah. It's real shit right there.
Yeah. Yes, but this is ancient technology. But the Western, the Euro West would call it hocus pocus to divert your attention.
Yeah.
See?
Indeed. Ooh, man. All right. Let's keep this thing moving. All right. Does your sight of reality depend on the frequency that you are vibrating on?
Yeah, but that's very nebulous.
Mm.
Let's be a little more specific. What do we mean by the frequency you're vibrating on? What do we mean by that? You see what I'm saying? So let's just take, I'll just say it this way. The frequency that you're vibrating on is totally dependent on what you have accepted as reality.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily your mood at the time. This is why certain organizations, religious organizations, which is a technology, believe it or not.
Mm.
And I mean true religion. I don't mean secularized religion, that how we've learned of what religion is. A lot of so-called atheists are atheists not because they don't believe in God. They don't believe in the God that they've been given.
Mm.
See? And in the absence of knowing anything else about a God, they just reject the whole thing and throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? So, back on the question. A lot of religious organizations, true religious organizations, and what I mean religious organizations, they initiate.
Mm-hmm.
They initiate, okay? You have to, in certain magical orders, occult orders, esoteric orders, they have a mythos. Myth does not mean not true. They have a mythos. In other words, like a creation cosmology that you must learn and absorb. Why? Because it reassembles your left brain.
Gotcha.
To accept broader possibilities of reality. It's to deprogram you from the European psychology. You see? So you want to talk about changing frequency? That is what changes frequency. It changes what you broadcast. I'll give you an example, right? In the Moor sign symbol of America, we have a teaching. We say, who was Jesus? Answer, he was a prophet of Allah. We say, where was he born? Answer, in Bethlehem of Judah in the house of David. Stop right there. Bethlehem gives you the physical location. Of Judah gives you the tribal affiliation. Then it says, in the house of David. Wait a minute. David was a somebody, right? He was a somebody. He wasn't no poor dude. He was a king. So what are you talking about? A dynastic line. See what I'm saying? A dynastic line. So was Jesus some poor son of a poor carpenter? Yeah, right. Changes the whole narrative, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And if the prophets of old said that the Messiah would come through the line of David, don't you realize that there were whole institutions, secret institutions and organizations watching? Okay. See? Changed the whole narrative. If it changed the narrative, what did it do? It changed your thinking. And if it changed your thinking, now you act different. And when you act different, you change the world. That's how it happens.
Powerful.
That's why something that simple is called a secret teaching. Why? Because it screws with the Eurocentric narrative. Understand?
Yeah, no, yeah.
That's why the Nation of Islam has supreme wisdom. That's why the Moorish Science Temple of America has a Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Because we have to get our own narrative back. That changes your vibration. That changes your frequency. See?
This person is saying Spot character in Spideyverse movie. I didn't see that movie yet. Showed us that dark hole portal tech is in US.
It did.
Oh, yeah?
Did you see the movie? It came out a couple years ago, the King Kong versus Godzilla movie?
Didn't see that one either, no.
Man, listen,
Gotta see it.
They gave up so much. I'm not really. Let me tell you guys something. I'm not really a huge fan of touting when media exposes or media throws something out there that was secret and da 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 da. It happens. It does. It does. But it's done that way to normalize it in a particular way for the masses. So you're not shocked and going crazy when it actually is right there in front of your face. That said, bro, they showed so much in that movie, the movie Godzilla, where they have King Kong on a ship, and Godzilla's chasing him, and then he ends up going into space in inner Earth, and then they go to Antarctica, and there's this private company that is literally breakaway civilization, meaning they're already a part of this post-disclosure reality, where they know about inner Earth, and they know about maglevs, and they know about anti-gravity tech, and they put it right there in the movie.
Wow.
I was like, oh my goodness.
Damn.
They put it right there.
All right, next question. Somebody wants to know, can you speak on Simeon Toco?
Woo! Man, listen. Simeon Toco is the embodiment, or was the embodiment, of what Hitler spoke about in his book, My Struggle. In German, it's Mein Kampf, right? When he talked about, because remember, the whole Nazi thing was based on de Gobineau, this guy named de Gobineau. He was a French aristocrat. They came up with the whole thing about racial demography, and there's a white race, a black race, and a yellow race. And he's the one that said that the white is the original and that all the other ones were degenerates. And he was the one that was totally against race mixing. And his philosophy was adopted by the Nazi Party, the whole Aryan thing. But also Friedrich Nietzsche's work of the Ubermensch, the Superman, the new man, right? You know who Crowley said the new man was?
Who?
The Asiatics in America. But he said it poetically. He called us the sons of the soil, the man of earth. That's what he said.
Wow.
That's what he said. Now, right? Hitler in Mein Kampf said, I have seen the new man. He is cruel and intrepid, and I was afraid of him. That's what he said. Simeon Toco is a prime example of that new man. Simeon Toco is a prime example of what I said lies latent in all of us.
Right.
So instead of sitting and waiting, we need to get busy raising the consciousness in ourselves, raising the vibration in ourselves, so we can be that, so that when those guys come, they recognize you. It's just like Malidoma Some said when he said, yeah, I'm here, among other things, to share with our people here the spiritual technology that they can use. And then one sister said, well, he said, your forefathers on the other side are waiting for instructions in the other realm. And one sister said, well, why don't they help us now? Why don't they listen to our prayers now? And you know what he said? They don't recognize your voice. He said, you all are bent over and hunched over like slaves. He said, you're not using the command voice. You're not standing up.
Yeah.
He said, so your ancestors don't recognize you. See?
A couple of y'all came on my channel and said that same thing. That must be a message that definitely needs to get out there. The voice in which we're speaking to these people is like a meager, scary, pussified voice.
It's the Negro voice. It's the Negro voice. And the Negro is a creation of the European, bro. We were made over.
A sister said one time, I asked one time, well, I'll save that for another show. Let's save that for another show. Because that'll take us somewhere. We'll be on for another hour. And I gotta go. This is your family. We've been on for what time is it? It's 11 o'clock. We got over 2,000 people in the chat. It's 11 o'clock. We've been on for an hour and 15 minutes. That means y'all hanging in there with us. That means y'all having a good time. It is Tuesday night. People got to get up in the morning, but I know y'all just can't leave because this is just so good, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I was supposed to leave an hour ago, but I just can't because this brother's on fire tonight. This brother is on fire tonight. Man, oh man, oh man.
Thank you, thank you. Like I said before, off camera, I want to say it again. You know, I just strive to be useful. You know what I'm saying? And just like anybody else, I'm coming into my purpose. You know what I mean? And I just want to say this. I want to emphasize this to the audience. I don't want to just say stuff that's going to tickle your ears and say, "Ooh, that sounds cool." Nah, no. I want to say things and share things that are useful. You see what I'm saying? We have a saying in the Moor Science Symbol of America. We say, what is the everlasting gospel? It is a saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient fathers by his prophet. Why do we say by his prophet? Because he's the one, Prophet Drew Ali is the one that taught us about this connection, right? So what do we mean by saving power? Effectiveness. It's something you can use. It's knowledge you can use, not just something to talk about at the bar, at the club, or online. No, it's something you can use. It's useful. See? Yeah.
You know, I want to ask you, we hear so many people talk about life after death and, you know, where you go when you leave this realm, or you leave this dimension, depends on where your consciousness is at. But then I also hear people say, you know, when they talk about the human body, they talk about how the ancestors live within us. So I want to ask you, I have a son. So if I leave this realm, you're telling me I go inside his body? That's
no.
How does this work?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Both are true. Let me go back really quick about Simeon Toco. Simeon Toco was a brother from the continent that claimed to be the embodiment of Jesus and could do some interesting things. And I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of details, but people can Google Simeon Toco and read about his story. The man, Europeans tried to kill him many times. He just wouldn't stay dead. And I'll just leave it at that.
What time period was this with Simeon Toco?
Oh, this was what I think like 70s, 80s.
70, yeah. 70, yeah. Not hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
It's contemporary. Yeah, it's contemporary. So, but back to your question, the answer is both. See, because here's the thing, ready? Yes. And this is where, at least on the surface, the doctrine between the Nation of Islam and the Moor Science Symbol of America differs. On the surface. On the surface, right? Actually, on the deeper level, it connects. Now, here we go, right? You know the science of epigenetics. That means what? Cells carry memory, among other things, right? So what memories are they carrying? Just the memories of their parents, or memories of a previous previous incarnation? The answer is both. Right? So, man, the spirit, and this is coming from the doctrine of the Moor Science Symbol of America. Man, the spirit man, is non-local. And that term is a quantum mechanics term. Non-locality. Non-locality means omnipotence, means omnipresence. So you're thinking, when you said, Brother Rich, when I go, am I with my son? You already are, brother. Your son's here. Get it?
Facts. Gotcha.
So we're talking non-locality.
Yeah.
You see? The first creation in the Nation of Islam, the teaching they call the self-creation of the first God. We would describe it in the Moor Science Symbol of America as man as non-local becoming local. See? But the spirit of man remains non-local. Gotcha. Remains non-local.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? The spirit of man remains non-local, meaning time and space are no barrier for the human mind. Time and space are no barrier for the human mind. Let's talk about real quick, go back on the technology, right? The hidden technology. Well, if UFOs can travel, see, remember, if you could fold space, no need to travel at the speed of light. Folding space means you're traveling faster than the speed of light. See? No need to develop an engine that can go near light speed. No need. You just move space. So it looks like this. This is the spaceship. This is space. Instead of it doing this, this is what's happening. Space is moving. See? Now, if it moves, now follow me. If space, if a ship can do that, and it's faster than light travel, that means you have to find a means of communication that's faster than light too. Or else you'll send a message to your destination and you'll beat the message there. See?
So the ships understand that movement is an illusion then, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Is that a way to... You know, some people say reality is that nobody's really movement. It's like picture frames. You know how a picture frame is just a still image, but we're flickering through millions of picture frames per second, so it gives us the illusion of movement.
Every point in time exists on its own, so in that respect.
Yeah.
In that respect. Yeah. So outside reality is nothing more than your unfolding perception.
Unfolding, yeah.
We could prove it. Your right sleeve is red. And I've mentioned this, I think, on the last show. Your right sleeve is red. Your left sleeve is blue. Why is it blue? What makes it blue? Well, we learned this in grade school. It's blue because it's made of a substance that absorbs every other spectrum except blue and reflects that back to the eye. But it doesn't reflect blue back to the eye. It reflects a spectrum of light. The eye receives it, sends it to the ocular nerve or the optic nerve. The optic nerve then sends that info to the brain, and the brain interprets it as blue. So it's only blue inside your head. Not out there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's with everything you see. That's with everything you smell. That's with everything you taste. That's with everything you touch. Your senses aren't outside your body. Your senses are interpreted by your brain. You only experience it inside. How crazy is that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Let's get to this is good, right, family? Some good stuff. And shout to no, this is the super chat. Shout to everybody in the chat, showing love. Make sure y'all support the channel. Let me throw my Cash App at the bottom of the screen. Brother Sharif, you got a Cash App?
I do, brother. It's $ capital S capital ANAEL.
Wait, hold up. Give me that one more time.
I'll text it to you.
Okay. I'll put it on the screen with it. Yeah, but make sure you support this type of information. Don't, this is some good stuff being delivered to the masses on a Tuesday night. Gotta love it. Let's
I just texted to you, bro.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna put it on the screen right now as we get to this next question. Oh man, wow, this is good stuff. Let's get to it, but we're gonna do about 2 more questions. Somebody asked, this was earlier, and I saved this question. Have you guys spoke about John Mack and the Rua, Zimbabwe school landings? Do you know what that is?
I'm not familiar. I would love to learn about it though.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not too. Yeah.
And you're about to send me. Hold on. I'm about to look.
Yeah, I'm not. I haven't heard about that, family. I haven't heard about that. Let me put the brothers Cash App on the screen in the meantime.
1994, February 16th. The UFO sighting outside of Ruhr, Zimbabwe. 62 pupils of the Ariel school aged between 6 and 12 said that they saw one or more silver craft descend from the sky and land on a field near their school. Some of the children claimed that one or more creatures dressed in all black then approached and telepathically communicated to them a message with an environmental theme, frightening them and causing.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Just real quick before we continue, I just don't want to put the wrong thing and people send it to the wrong Cash App. It's SANAELBEY.
That's it.
Okay, got you. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got that right. Yeah, I got that brother's Cash App on the screen if y'all would like to support. Let's get to, yeah, that's interesting. I'm gonna look that up. I'm definitely gonna look that up.
That is interesting. Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Now I want to say this.
Yeah.
Right. My good friend and colleague Alan Greenfield, the code that he delineates in his book Secret Cipher of the Ufonauts allows the serious investigator who learns the code and learns to use it to find keywords in this report. And then run these keywords through the code and pull down clues to interacting with the incident itself or a future incident with the same individuals. What I'm telling you, I've done myself. Not just me, but other people that I know, colleagues of mine. We've done it. We've done it. If you don't believe me, find Alan Greenfield's email on which you can email him and ask about me.
Wow.
He'll tell you himself.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to this. What you real quick. Before I get to a question, you mentioned portals earlier, and you said how sites are built over portals. The ancients knew about that. One place I hear about is a major portal is the Grand Canyon, and that's why it's heavily
portals possibly. What they're guarding in the Grand Canyon is something else. Remember, what's more important than money to the status quo is preserving the narrative.
Okay.
That's more important. It's more important than preserving the narrative. You see what I'm saying? Let's take hip hop, for example. Hip hop, I think there's nobody here that can argue with me that hip hop has been weaponized against us. It's our own creation and it's weaponized against us.
Yes.
Who's behind the weaponization? And they're paying Sexy Red millions of dollars to maintain a narrative. It's not the money, people, in this case. Bigger than that. It's to maintain a narrative about you and I. See what I'm saying? That's what it is. See? So it's maintaining a narrative. Grand Canyon, what was found there by the surveyor Mr. Kincaid in the 1800s? What was found there was ancient Egyptian artifacts. I don't have to say any more in terms of busting up a narrative, do I? All right.
What's it doing over there? What was the ancient?
Good question. Good question. That's right. Right. That's why you've got all kinds of other investigators, explorers that, first of all, are like, whoa, it's very difficult to get to that cave. They know where it is.
Yeah. But
it's very difficult. It's like a 2,000-foot drop from the cliff side straight down. Yeah. It's very difficult to get to. But at one point, this one particular investigator, he said, man, listen, we're going to get a helicopter and we're going to go and right in front of it to see it. Got the helicopter, rented the helicopter. Man, you know what the lady told him? The pilot? She says, oh yeah, the FAA don't allow us to go that level. Sorry, can't do it. Right. But when he was previously there and they were trying to get guys these expert repellers to get down there. They only got as far as 800 feet, and they had to come back up, right? There were planes and black unmarked helicopters flying below the radar, to scare them.
Damn.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Wow. Let's keep this thing going. Let's get to this last question before we get out of here, family. Let me see.
Oh, and again, once again, I got to give him a shout out. I got to shout out my brother, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, and the monumental work that he and his team have put in, especially with the publications and the other things. Like, incredible work. You know, I've learned a lot. You know what I mean?
Right. Let me show the brother's books one more time before we get to this last question.
Oh, yeah.
The Anunnaki and the Sacred Science of the Black God. And Chariots of the Black God, the UFO reality and the alien hoax. Right. Shout out to the brother right there. Where's this question? Last question. Do you have any information on Sunrise UFO experience?
I don't. I've heard some things, but I don't have any information. Now, Brother Wesley highlighted this. And I'm not saying that this happened to Sun Ra. I'm not going to say that. I don't know. Right? There are, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the last show. Back in 1997, you know who I brought to Syracuse?
Who?
William Cooper.
Oh, he did? Oh, shit.
Yes. William Cooper. I brought him. Shout out to my good brother, Tommy Muhammad in the Nation of Islam, who he was with me, and we were in his hotel room for like a week. Wow. Pestering them with questions and going back and forth. But even he said this. You know, everybody's familiar with his book, Behold the Pale Horse. Yeah. But in the chapter on the secret government at the very end, he said, you know, it's very possible that all this stuff about aliens is not even true. It's just what they wanted us to believe. He said, but even if it's not true, the technology is real. That's what he said in the book. When we questioned him about that in the hotel room, he said, yeah, that's not real. But the tech is real. So we said, okay, well, if it's not real, then what's really going on? You know what he said? This is what he said. He said there's two. Ben Rich also said this as well. I'll tell you who Ben Rich is in a second. He said there's two things happening. There's the UFOs that we make. And then he said there's the UFOs that are coming from an unknown reality. That's what he said. Same thing that Hal Puthoff said in his paper, Ultraterrestrial Models. See? Same thing that Ben Rich said. Ben Rich was the former director of Skunk Works, which was the secret end of, I believe, what aerospace group is that? I think Grumman. I think it's Grumman. Don't quote me on that. But Skunk Works was their secret special access department. And in a final speech he made, on the slide, it had a picture of the planet and a picture of a UFO leaving the Earth. And he ended his speech with saying this: we now have the technology to take ET home. That's what he said. That's what he said. Right? And then later he talked about, yes, in a letter. I have a copy of the letter. Right? He said that there's man-made UFOs and then there's the other ones. And we are trying to come to parity with the other ones, meaning we're playing catch up.
You know, something just came down. I don't know if the audience seen it.
Yeah.
From your hat. It's like something red. Something just came down. Did y'all see that? I need to mark it. It was at the 208 mark. Let me write that down because I'm gonna show you that. I'm gonna send you and show you that when when the brother said UFO. Let me write this down because I'm gonna send it to you. At the 208 around the 208 mark, something red came down from the brother. Yeah, it looked like an orb or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's deep. Some real shit, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What you think about the orbs? What do you think about orbs? What are orbs? People always say, I seen an orb or I seen this. Just like I just said, What are orbs, brother?
Right. Listen, the world is way bigger than we've been taught to believe, right? Reality is much more broader than we've been taught to believe. Okay. There are, there's the word egregore. And egregore is a thought form. Thoughts are things. Thoughts are living.
Yes.
Okay. We've not been taught that. We've been taught just the opposite. Oh, thoughts just make believe. It's not real. Right? No, thoughts are things. Thoughts are living things. Okay? Thoughts are living things. Right? Man, from a religious perspective, from our religious perspective, again, to quote my brother Wesley Muhammad, because we echo the same sentiment. Most people in the West, what have they been taught as far as religion? To adore the idea of God as if you can never be that or never get close. Our idea of religion, the way we do religion to be God. Big difference. See what I'm saying? That said, just contemplating that idea expands the possibilities. So if in the religious perspective, everything that exists is happening in the mind of Allah, the mind of God, and man is Allah's presence in his creation. That means our thoughts are living things just like we're living things inside the mind of God. Figure it out. See? So thoughts are living things. And the more of us that think, along the same lines, the more of us that think the same thing, that thought gains greater power to the point where the thought itself, within limits, can move and act on its own. That is a thought form. That's what orbs are.
Powerful.
That's what orbs are.
And what's interesting about it, and just to expand our consciousness and what you said, I usually see white orbs around people sometimes. This one was red.
Yeah. I
don't think I've ever seen a red orb. So this one was quite interesting. Somebody said that red orb was visible around that cigar-shaped UFO. I don't know about that. That's interesting. Yeah,
yes.
That is interesting. Wow.
Interesting. Yes.
Very interesting. Hey man, what a show, brother Sharif, man.
Brother, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Like I said, our brother was watching. He said, "Good show, brother Wesley Muhammad."
Yo, shout out to my brother Wesley.
Yes,
powerful brother right there. Indeed. Once again, leave your contact. I got to get you and Dr. Wesley on here. I told Dr. Wesley this months ago. One day before this year's up, I want to have a panel discussion with the melanated brothers and sisters on the whole UFO and extraterrestrial and this whole, all the different voices, some sisters, some brothers. We're gonna have a big panel. We're gonna do it, bro.
It is my firm belief from my religious perspective, and I'm sure our brother Wesley Muhammad would echo this because of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yeah. We need to own the UFO conversation.
We do.
We need to own it. Yeah.
Give the people your contact info, brother.
Yes, sir. Sharif Bey at ymail.com. That is the email. Find me on Instagram under Sharif Bey, SHARIFBEY, Sharif Nil Bey on Facebook and TikTok, Sifu Sharif. You can find me there too.
Indeed. I gotta call you. I'll probably call you sometime later this week. I got a huge event that I'm doing in Atlanta in August. I haven't made the announcement yet. I'm gonna make it soon, but I definitely will want you to if you could come through.
I can come through, bro. I can come through.
Indeed. So we're gonna talk about that, but it's gonna be in August. So I just want to give you a heads up. But I'll talk to you if not tomorrow, sometime before this week is up, brother.
Thank you so much, brother, man. Appreciate you.
Indeed, appreciate brother. I'm about to say brother Wesley, brother Sharif Bey. I want to thank this brother. I want to thank everybody in the chat for tuning in. You stayed with us the whole 2.5 hours. Amazing night of information. Make sure you watch this again, and make sure y'all contact this brother. This brother has a wealth of information. The brother, did you start selling the
Not yet.
Not yet.
What I am doing is I'm gathering. I'm glad you brought that up, brother. I'm glad you brought that up. That is the deck.
Okay.
Right? That is the tarot deck. And I'm gathering names, those that are interested in not just purchasing it, but a study group on its use.
Ooh, smart. There you go.
A study group on its use.
There you go.
Hit me up.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Hit the brother up. The brother left his contact information. Listen, family. I don't know if I'll be back tomorrow, either tomorrow or the day after that, but I'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody. Peace. Have a good night.
Yes,
Peace, brother.
Peace.
All right.